Welcome to this video in which my friend, swordsman and archaeologist Ingo Petri is going to present to you a sword which was found in a princely grave in the western Slavic fortification of Starigard, modern-day Oldenburg, which is located in northern Germany on the Cimbrian Peninsula. So the Cimbrian Peninsula is placed between the Baltic in the east and the North Sea in the west. And in the Viking Age, it was a focal point of various cultures. So in the north, you had the Danes with Hedeby and the Daneworks, the Danevirke, forming the border to the south. And then in the part close to the North Sea, there was Saxons and Frisians, and then there was a kind of Badlands which formed the border to the Western Slavs, and their capital, well, if you want to call it like that, or their main castle fortification was Starigard. This tribe was called the Abodrites, and Starigard itself was a typical earthwork, a typical fortification which was built in the fashion that the Western Slavs used to erect fortifications and castles. And so it's a ring wall, and inside the walls there's a timber construction that's typical for Slavic fortification building, a timber construction which were filled up with earth, and then from huge oak logs they would form another terrace, and so bit by bit they would put up these timber constructions filled with earth, and then finally all of that was covered with earth, and that made up the massive ring walls. Starigard is special in as far as it is a double ring wall, so its layout is basically a figure eight, and that's unique. And in the Viking Age it was accessible from the Baltic. There were hidden waterways going through waters and swamps, and finally to Starigard. Today Oldenburg does not have any access to the Baltic, but that was different in the Viking Age.
This is a sword from grave 74 from Starigard Oldenburg. This is to some people well-known princely grave from Starigard Oldenburg. It's a Slavic stronghold. This burial is from the end of the 10th century. It has other grave goods too, and this is the only sword found in Starigard Oldenburg. It's an interesting type, because this is an Anglo-Saxon type. It's called the Anglo-Saxon type L, or Wallingford Bridge type.
Okay, so what are the criteria?
The criteria are the bend, crossguard and pommel guard.
So the fact that they are curved, and they're curving away from the grip.
From the grip, exactly. And you see that this one is not exactly bent, but here it has some edges. So this is a development. It's a mixture of the.
Oh, you mean that this is not circular?
Yeah.
But here's a straight edge, and then there's a third one. Okay.
Yeah. So this Wallingford Bridge type evolved as a mixture from between type L and type Z.
Okay, so and these are sword types according to a hilt shape as defined by Jan Petersen in 1990. Okay.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Vera Evison in 1970 something worked out this Anglo-Saxon development.
Okay, got it.
This sword is quite large.
And when we say sword, then of course we're just talking about what is left of the sword.
Yeah.
Because
we don't show the blade because it has been extensively restored.
Okay. So, and when you say the blade has been extensively restored, you're actually referring to it being
from plastic.
Huh?
Being from plastic.
Okay, good. so it's not overly useful from a scientific purpose, scientific perspective.
Yeah, but the original length of the sword is 1.3.5 meters.
Oh, okay. So that's quite long, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite long, and as you see, the handle parts are quite large too.
Yeah, the fittings look really, really big. We have something for comparison here. There's a Over there's another intact handle. Again, this is a broken blade, but here on the left you see a type, a Jan Pedersen type X, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Gabi Construction Type 3, and you see it does look a lot more delicate in comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, what is interesting with the sword from Starigard Oldenburg, one thing you cannot see, but you can see from X-ray images, that the pommel cap is completely hollow. It's only made from sheet metal.
So the pommel does consist of two parts. So it's not just not just one piece where a ridge has been forged into the pommel, but it's actually two parts.
Yeah, you see the rivets here.
Okay, let me see that.
Here and better here.
Okay, yeah.
They are for fixing the pommel cap.
Okay.
This one is massive from iron.
So that's the pommel bar.
Pommel bar or pommel guard. And this one is hollow, just made from sheet metal.
Okay, so it's very thin and completely hollow, as you say.
Yeah.
It's also very flat, isn't it? I mean, in shape, it's surprising that when you see it from the side, it's really, really flat.
Yeah.
What does it feel like?
If you hold it in your hand,
exactly.
it feels very good because it comfortably is lying beside the hand.
Okay, I see.
And what is interesting too, what you see here is that the crossguard is...
Can you hold it against the blank wall so I don't have the posters in the background? No, this there.
Ah, there?
Exactly.
The crossguard is bent to one side.
Okay, so I see.
While the rest of the sword is completely straight. So the pommel is not turned and it's completely...
So there's no twist of the pommel. The pommel is parallel to
the crossguard.
To the crossguard?
Yeah, exactly.
However, where are the irregularities?
It's irregular. As you see, one side is more straight than the other one. This one is more bent.
Okay, so an asymmetrical pommel.
The same is true for the crossguard. It's more straight here and more bent there.
Okay, got it.
And if you measure the distance between these points, this side is a centimeter wider than the other one.
Okay, got it. So it's, but you would agree it's difficult to say whether this is intentional or not.
Yeah.
Difficult to say.
And what you may see here too is that one side of the pommel is more flat than the other one.
Yeah, I noticed that with a lot of pommels, actually also with a lot of crossguards.
In this case, I would say the crossguard is more or less symmetrical.
Okay. Yeah. I see. Okay, but here with the pommel, if you just hold it like so, it's quite notable. So it's this side here is more curved, while this is very flat and straight.
And you have the rest of the hilt here. It's preserved
wooden
wood,
handle,
the wooden handle.
grip, yeah.
And down there on the blade, there's wood arrests of the scabbard.
And all these incrustations, all this material that we see there, that's what remnants of earth or rust or wood or what
this is a mixture of earth and rust that has not been removed because underneath there's the wood that is too fragile.
I see. Okay. And from one side you can actually look into the scabbard, can't you?
You can look into a bit here. You see the sword blade in here and the layers of the scabbard. It has been analyzed, and at the inside you have fur, and then you have a layer of wood.
Okay, so the blade is in direct contact with some fur. And then that again is sandwiched by wood.
And I'm not sure, I have to look it up, maybe there's even a layer of leather on that wood.
Okay, on the very outside.
Yeah.
And as for the remains on the handle, is that just wood, or did they discover any textile or leather or something like that?
That's just wood.
Okay. Which doesn't mean that there never was any other material too.
Yeah.
It just means this is what is left. Okay. And this is a princely grave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I must say, when I saw this sword in a catalog, I thought like, ooh, this is really ugly. And it looks like, when you only see it in photos, it looks very, shall I say, clumsy. But
it's very good in the hand.
Yeah, when you actually hold it, it's quite a cool design. Plus, I said that earlier, if this pommel was polished, and if all of this was new, it would have been a really nice shiny surface. Also because it's so flat, as a three-dimensional object, it seems a lot more elegant than if you just take a square-on photo of that sort. Okay, thank you very much. Stats, close-up photos, as well as illustrations of mine are provided via my Patreon to supporters, and I very much like to thank you for your generous support and your kind interest in my work.